I guess I've always had this vision from the time I was a kid. You know, I would watch rock bands, people like Van Halen or, you know, guitar players like Yngwie Malmsteen, and you know, you'd see these guys, they're playing their instruments and they're like running all across the stage and jumping into the audience, stage diving and just yelling and screaming. And I always thought to myself, why can't an ukulele concert be like that?
From a young age, he's pushed the boundaries of this tiny 4-stringed instrument. Ukulele master Jake Shimabukuro next on Long Story Short.
Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox is Hawaii's first weekly television program produced and broadcast in high definition.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Leslie Wilcox. In his relatively young career, Jake Shimabukuro has already redefined the ukulele as a musical instrument. His unique blend of traditional Hawaiian music, jazz, classical, funk, and rock has captivated audiences worldwide. He's performed on national television programs like Jimmy Kimmel Live and Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and even for Queen Elizabeth II of England. His star burns brighter than ever with sold-out concerts and a #1 album. But how did the humble boy from Kaimuki become an international sensation?
Well, tell me about your family.
You know, both my parents, you know, they're really great people. I mean, they were excellent role models, I think, for both, you know.
You've described both of them as easygoing, carefree.
Yeah, very easygoing, very carefree, especially my mom. My mom's very carefree. I mean, she, you know, my parents, you know, they divorced when I was quite young, so it was just my younger brother and myself.
I usually don't think of single moms with 2 kids as carefree.
Yeah, no, yeah, my mom, she's I think a very special person, you know, because she had a very hard life growing up. She really did whatever she had to do. I mean, made every sacrifice she could, you know, to make sure that my brother and I, you know, got the things that we needed or wanted. And
did she work more than one job?
Yeah, she worked several jobs, and a lot of the work that she did was, you know, late at night she'd work in the bars too for extra money, and so sometimes she wouldn't come home till after 2 a.m.
So you come home from school, nobody would be home, and then she wouldn't be home until you were sleeping.
Yeah, so it was just, you know, me and my brother, but she'd always have food for us and you know, waiting for us in the icebox. Whenever we'd come home, we'd open up the fridge and we'd see like shoyu chicken, or she'd make her curry or something.
And your brother, how much younger is he?
He's 5 years.
Bruce is 5 years younger.
Yeah.
And so I take it you were close. You had each other for company in the afternoons and evenings.
Yeah, we were. You know, I mean, we were best friends. But of course, growing up, I was kind of, you know, because I was the older brother, I always made sure that he ate and would do his homework and go to sleep.
And he accepted that?
Yeah. Yeah, we just did whatever we had to do to help each other out, you know, because I think that's how our family always operated. You know, it was like we always just understood that we were a team, you know, and we all had to do our part.
Even if one was, you know, when you're away, you're still a team.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And
what about your dad? How did the dynamic work when your parents split up and you lived with your mom? How did that work out with your dad?
I think both my parents had a difficult time with it, but I think they both knew that it was for, you know, it was for the best. And there were times where we'd stay with our mom, and then there were times where we'd stay with our dad, and it was always, you know, it was always pleasant. It didn't matter, you know, who we were with. And the thing that I always respected about both of my parents is that they, you know, now looking back, is that they never, ever, even after the divorce, even when they were separated, they never said anything bad about the other person.
Jake Shimabukuro studied under several ukulele instructors over the years, but his very first teacher was his mom, Carol. At the age of 4, he started playing traditional Hawaiian music with his mother's kamaka ukulele, and later began lessons at Roy Sakuma Ukulele Studios. Jake says that playing the ukulele also helped him cope with his parents' divorce.
My first ukulele teacher after my mom was a girl named Tammy Akiyama. She's now Tammy Omuro, but she was an instructor for Roy Sukuma's ukulele school, and I think I studied with her for about 5 or 6 years, and she always made music fun for me. And she made me want to go home and play and practice. Not necessarily try to. She wouldn't put any pressure on me, you know, to learn something. But she always inspired me and encouraged me to just play all the time. And I think.
And you played for hours sometimes, right?
Yeah,
just
I mean,
hours and hours.
I loved it. I remember just coming home from school. I would rush home from school just so I could play my ukulele. My mom wouldn't let me take my ukulele to school because she had a kamaka, and back then kamakas were, I mean, till this day they're still, you know, they're like, I mean, it's.
They're heirlooms.
Yeah, exactly, right. I still have, you know, the one that my mom taught me on, the ukulele that she had when she was a teenager.
So you felt, you were conscious you were parted from your ukulele and you'd rush home.
Yeah, I'd rush home and I'd take it out and I'd strum the 3 chords that I knew, you know, the D7, G7, C chord.
During his high school years, Jake Shimabukuro described himself as a shy person and not the outgoing performer that he is today. Instead of performing as a solo act, he would often seek out musical groups to perform with in the annual Brown Bags to Stardom talent competition.
I didn't think that I'd have a future, you know, playing the ukulele. So early on, when I would perform and play with people, I would always accompany singers. You know, I would find people who could sing and I would play with them. So even throughout my high school years, I always found other musicians, and you know, and I would gravitate toward musicians that were amazing singers, or they were songwriters, and I would learn from them. I would try to figure out how I can accompany them, or what I can do to contribute to the song.
And you liked the idea of ensemble and team. You didn't see yourself as a solo act.
Oh yeah, I was definitely afraid to go up on stage by myself and just perform. Probably wasn't until maybe, was it my junior or my sophomore? Okay, it was my junior year I entered, and what I did was I was gonna play a song, and I got so flustered because I was so nervous, and I just completely blanked out. And there I was standing on stage, and everyone's just quiet and watching. I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? So without thinking, I started just strumming, and I started singing La Bamba. And everyone just started yelling and screaming and laughing, whatever, right? And I just started having fun with it. And
it was the idea of La Bamba being such an odd thing to play on an ukulele.
Yeah, exactly, right? And they're like, what is he doing? And all my friends were just like, what is he doing? Because I'm a horrible singer. And I just started playing and singing. And then Lanai Boy, I-94, was sponsoring the
so
Brown
he
Bags
was the
to Stardom,
host,
right? So
radio
Lanai
guy.
Boy was hosting. And I remember he was looking at me from the side, because you only have 3 minutes to perform. And he was kind of looking at me and trying to give me the cue, hey, you gotta cut. And I looked at him and I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep playing. I kept playing. And then he came up on stage with his microphone, and I'm still playing. He's like, because I think it was after 5 minutes already, and he's just like, okay, that's great.
But the crowd
give
was
it up.
loving it.
And everyone was just laughing, dying laughing, because I didn't want to get off the stage. I started playing, and I kept going and kept going. And then he started walking toward me, right? And then I started kind of moving away from him. And everyone was just dying. But he still remembers that, you know, Lanai Boy still remembers that. And that's probably the day I realized that I enjoyed performing
There was that
on stage
chemistry
for
with the
people.
audience.
Yeah, I did it.
And you just went with it.
I just went with it.
Jake Shimabukuro first gained popularity in 1998 as a member of the local band Pure Heart. The trio was made up of Lopaka Colon on percussion and John Yamasato on vocals and guitar. Their first of 2 albums won 4 Nahoku Hanohano Awards and was named one of the top 50 Hawaiian albums of all time by Honolulu Magazine.
And we were just out of high school, so we were having a great time. I mean, we started out playing at coffee shops, and we would do birthday parties, graduation parties. We did a lot of graduation parties.
And why the name Pure Heart?
It was a name that John's dad and we were driving in the car one day, and we were just thinking of names, and I think we were throwing words around, and we thought, oh yeah, like, you know, something, because the music's from the heart, and you know, but we're so young and innocent, you know, so we're pure, and then we thought, oh, how about Pure Heart? and it just stuck.
And it was a different sound, wasn't it? Did you try for a different sound, or was that just reflecting who you all were?
No, well, I think we all had different influences. You know, for me, I think for John too, you know, we were really into bands like Kapena and Peter Moon and Ka'au Crater Boys, and guys like you know, the Sons of Hawaii, you know, going back, and Hui Ohana. You know, those were the people that we listened to a lot.
As a member of Pure Heart, Jake Shimabukuro's early recordings were mainly covers of previously recorded songs. After the breakup of Pure Heart and Jake's second band, Cologne, he branched out into a solo career and began to develop his identity.
A dear friend of mine, Tracy Torada, who later became my producer for a lot of my early recordings with a band called Pure Heart and a band called Cologne, and then my first 3 solo records. He is an amazing ukulele player, and he was my teacher for many years. I guess he was kind of the last formal instructor that I had, but I learned so much from him, just about the instrument and how to develop style in your playing. You know, not just about how to play, but how to develop your own voice, your own signature, your own method, and how to cultivate that and really build.
That's when you're also developing as a person, too. So that must have been an interesting subject, developing your own identity.
I think really the expression music is the universal language. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I think that statement falls a little short. You know, I mean, I used to tell people that I think that music is the language of the universe. And I think everyone is born with the ability to speak that language, you know, because music is really just the language of human emotion.
Outside of Hawaii, the ukulele is often regarded as a toy or a diminutive instrument. Many perceive the ukulele to be capable of playing only traditional Hawaiian music. When Jake Shimabukuro performs, he pushes the limits of what defines the ukulele by showing off a wide range of musical forms, from jazz to funk to classical music, folk, and rock. Jake receives standing ovations from audiences who are thrilled to hear his dynamic and unique style of music.
I saw you performing in Washington, D.C. to kind of a jaded group of entertainment executives, and they were told that this ukulele master from Hawaii was coming out. And I saw them kind of look at their watches like, okay, and after that we have lunch. And then you came out and you just killed them. And they were, I think they were on their feet clapping well before you were ready to finish. I mean, you just blew them away.
Oh, wow.
Do you like doing that? Do you like just saying, I mean, there was not a big buildup before you came on, and an ukulele is an unprepossessing looking instrument, right? You must see that a lot.
Yeah, one of the things I always joke around with people, and I tell them one of the best things about being a touring ukulele player is that audiences all over the world have such low expectations. And I think that, you know, I jokingly say that, but it is true. It's so true. When you see someone come out with an ukulele, you don't expect a lot of music to come out of that instrument, especially when it's when there's no singing involved. There's no other backing instruments. It's just 4 strings and 2 octaves. And I think people's expectations of the kind of music that comes out of the ukulele, most people, especially outside of Hawaii, will think of Tiny Tim's Tiptoe Through the Tulips. But you don't expect to hear a lot of melody or pop tunes or rock tunes.
You think you know what you're going to hear, but then when you play, we don't know what we're going to hear.
Which is kind of nice, because it has the same effect as going to a magic show in a lot of ways, right? You're there and you see this magician comes out and like, what's he gonna do? What's he doing? And then all of a sudden, all these birds come flying out of his jacket or something, right? So, but I think that element of surprise is so powerful in any art form.
What are some of the ways you bring complexity and range to music using an ukulele?
The one thing that I think I do different from other ukulele players is the energy that I like to play with. I guess I've always had this vision from the time I was a kid. I would watch rock bands, people like Van Halen or guitar players like Yngwie Malmsteen, and you'd see these guys, they're playing their instruments and they're like running all across the stage and jumping into the audience, stage diving and just yelling and screaming. And I always thought to myself, why can't an ukulele concert be like that? Why can't it be this, I mean, after an ukulele performance, I would just want to be drenched, like I just wrestled a bear. And, so I try to incorporate, more of that. It's basically like all these little things, you want to take a little bit of everything and really showcase it on the instrument. Dynamics, I think, is probably one of the most powerful aspects of music. And the ukulele has an extremely wide dynamic range.
For example?
Like for example, if you think of the trumpet, a trumpet is it's a pretty loud instrument, right? And people think, oh yeah, you can play really, really loud. But if you think about it, on the trumpet, you can't play really soft. You have to, before you can even get a tone, you need to play at a certain volume, right? So the trumpet's dynamic, if this is 0 and this is 10, the trumpet's dynamic range may be from here to here, right? But the ukulele can't play nearly as loud as a trumpet, but you can play so much softer than a trumpet. I mean, you can, like most string instruments, even a guitar, you can bring it down to nothing.
Jake Shimabukuro's blossoming solo career took him to Japan and across the U.S. mainland. A chance appearance on a small New York television show and the rise of the internet video service YouTube helped launch Jake's career to new heights.
There's a local television show in New York called Ukulele Disco, and they feature all these different ukulele players. So since I was in town, I guess somehow they knew of me, so they contacted me and they say, hey, you want to be on our show? I said, yeah, sure, great. So he took me to Central Park, and I sat on this rock, and he just had a little handheld video camera, and he asked me a few questions, and I played a song, and just so happened I was working on an arrangement of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, so I played that, and it aired on TV, and it's just a small local station in New York, and then I came back home to Hawaii. So this was about 7 years ago, and about 6 or 7 years ago, YouTube had just started out. So I was back home in Hawaii, and I just minding my own business. A few months later, I get some emails and calls from friends because a lot of my friends were on the mainland and they were going to school and all that. So they called me up and they said, "Hey, people have been sending me this video of you performing, playing in Central Park." So I was like, "What are you talking?" So they forwarded the email to me, and then there was this link, and I clicked on it, and there I was. I thought, "Hey, that's the thing I did for that Ukulele Disco show." I was like, "How did it get on this site?" And in a matter of weeks, it just millions and millions and millions of views, millions and millions and millions of downloads, and I couldn't believe it. I started getting calls from other bands and artists and venues, people saying like, "Hey, we want you to come play at our venue," or "We want you to come open for our band," or record with us on our next record. And it was just incredible. I mean, since that video hit, I've been able to collaborate with people like Yo-Yo Ma, Jimmy Buffett, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, John Hyatt, Cyndi Lauper, Bette Midler. In fact, a couple years ago, I went with Bette Midler to England and we performed for Queen Elizabeth. It all just stemmed from this YouTube.
Even with all of his success and international popularity, Jake Shimabukuro remains humble and grounded. To Jake, his family is the most important part of his life. He remains close with both of his parents and his younger brother Bruce, who is also an accomplished ukulele performer and instructor. A few months before this conversation took place in 2013, Jake and his wife Kelly had their first child.
You got married and had a baby, but how did your relationship with your now wife start?
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. I can't believe I'm married. We have a baby. It's awesome.
And
it's
a great
really
career.
Incredible. It's I met my wife. It was actually my stepsister Lisa who set me up on a blind date with her. We scheduled I don't know if it was a lunch or a dinner, but right around that time, she was in the residency program because she's an OBGYN. And the day that we were supposed to go out, I got sick. So I called her and I had to cancel our plans. I said, "Oh yeah, you mind if we do this another time?" So she said, "Oh yeah, sure."
Did you reschedule it on the spot?
Well, we didn't set anything. We didn't set any date, but I, basically just said that, "Oh yeah, maybe when I'm feeling better, and we can try to schedule something again." So she said, "Okay." So right around that time, I started touring, and I got really busy, and she was in the residency program. So 3 years later, I called her up out of the blue. I said, "Oh, hey, it's Jake.
I'm feeling better now."
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted to go out again. No, but yeah, she was very sweet, and I think she kind of laughed about it. But she was like, "Yeah, sure, we can go together and go out." And so I took her out for Thai food, and we went to a little place called Chiang Mai on King Street. And yeah,
kind of near where you grew up, right?
Yeah. And we had a 3-hour dinner that night.
First sight attraction, or
Oh
did it
yeah,
grow?
As soon as she walked through the door, like I don't know if she believes me or not, but I knew that this was the girl I want to marry.
Really?
Yeah, I knew from that first date, and now we have a healthy, baby boy. He's about 5 months.
What's his name?
Chase. And he's just the greatest joy of our lives. He's just amazing. Just the cutest thing. But of course, every parent thinks that of their child, I'm sure.
Just what are you most grateful for in your life?
Oh, the thing I'm most grateful for is just my family, and and that extends to, of course, my parents and grandparents and just my uncles and aunties. And I've been very, very fortunate. Every stage in my life and even in my career, I've always had just good, solid people to guide me and to help me and support me, and so I'm most grateful for that.
Ukulele master Jake Shimabukuro continues to push the boundaries of music with his dexterous and dynamic performances. His unique talent has taken the 4-stringed, 2-octave instrument far beyond Hawaii's shores. When we spoke in 2013, Jake was on a break from a 30-plus city tour across Japan and the U.S. mainland. In 2012, he released a new album, Grand Ukulele, in which he teamed up with legendary producer Alan Parsons, best known for Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and the Beatles' Abbey Road. Jake says that teaming up with the Alan Parsons was an opportunity he just couldn't pass up. Mahalo to Jake Shimabukuro for sharing his story with us, and mahalo to you for joining us. For PBS Hawaii and Long Story Short, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Ahui ho!
For audio and written transcripts of this program and all episodes of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, visit pbshawaii.org.
It has the same effect as going to a magic show in a lot of ways, right? You're there and you see this magician comes out and like, what's he gonna do? What's he doing? And then all of a sudden, all these birds come flying out of his jacket or something, right? So, but I think that element of surprise is so powerful in any art form.